All right. So welcome everybody to the third in our series of Share and Learn hosted brainstorming sessions to help the community understand different ideas and perspectives on what the season might look like for each of the first programs. Next slide. And here are our amazing panelists today. We have folks from Florida and Louisiana and Ohio and Nevada and hopefully South Carolina soon as well. All right, next, Sanjay. Right, so first question on people's minds. How do we do remote training for students? Most of us can't meet right now, so what are some ideas everyone has for how we can start teaching kids how to do FRC? Anyone?
Start
can
that.
Step in. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. This is Stacy from South Florida. I'm with FRC 180 Spam. So what we started doing was we noticed that we have a lot of our kids that are not able, who have graduated, who are not able to go to the college of their choice, unfortunately. So they're staying in town. So we are taking advantage of that, and horrible situation for them, but great for us. And they're teaching some CAD and programming classes. So one of the things we're using is AutoCAD Fusion 360. It's free. And they do it through Zoom, and it's a wonderful way for them to program. And then we also have one of our students, alumni from a couple of years ago, who is actually going to University of Central Florida for computer CAD. And he actually comes on and he started doing classes for our students. So they're going to get certification in the CAD and in the AutoCAD Fusion. And so we're really excited about that. We also have some Java that they're learning, some other classes and stuff like that. So take advantage of your graduates, and that would be really amazing opportunity for them too.
To kind of add on to the CAD train, those the softwares that Stacy mentioned are really, really great, especially they're free and accessible. But one thing I would recommend though is a lot of times students get kind of just lost with the tutorials. They're great, but it's really like those I feel like are the best when you can kind of sit down with someone and ask questions and talk back and forth. So I don't think those are the best for virtual training because it's hard to find your answers sometimes. But one thing that I would really recommend is doing activities with some kind of a purpose. So one thing that I did that was really cool in one of my engineering classes this past semester was we would design chess pieces for like a new game of chess, and you would CAD them out, and so you would make a theme. Some of the popular ones were like Game of Thrones or like The Office, or like someone did plant themed chess pieces, and those help you learn a lot of the basics of CAD, like drawing, pivoting stuff, repeated motion, stuff like that. So that's really good. Another thing that I like to do with some of my students is a thing called cardboard CAD. It's using some kind of CAD software and doing really basic things like using like a sheet metal type shape and like experiment with just pivoting and more evaluation side of CAD, and then creating that with cardboard and straws or whatever you have in your house. So I like to stick with the more involved activities so the students aren't really bored, but definitely free CAD is the way to go.
So my team 8027 is actually also doing CAD online. Actually, they meet on Discord twice a week, every Tuesday and Thursday. And one of the students who picked up SolidWorks last year is teaching. We have 2 new kids who joined the team. He's teaching those 2, and then he decided to open it up to anybody. So we actually have a student on an FTC team, a mentor on an FTC team, and several kids on various FRC teams around the country joining him every Tuesday and Thursday. And he teaches them basically what we had to do, how to import the base, what's it called, the chassis. Oh, how if I take some part from VEX, well, it's too tall. How would I cut it? Then how do I join it with said chassis? Oh, now I have to have the, so he's doing actually very practical stuff that our team did do to construct our robot. And like now he's into his second or third week, he's into making custom parts. Oh, what if you had to make a piece? This is how you would do it. So it is, I mean, the kids can't really cut and build that, but at least they're getting a feel for actually what our team did use and do. And they meet on Discord, and basically they share their screen so they can see each other's SolidWorks. They can't work on one file, which is a limitation compared to something like OnShape, but they are able to, like, they'll say, hey, I don't know what you mean by that. And the instructor student says, can you share your screen with me? And then he watches and goes, oh no, do this. Or the nice part is, even the instructor is learning from other kids from other teams, because we have a student from another team who has some background, and he says, I did it this way. And then I'm just listening in, I hear, oh, could you show us how you did it compared to what I did it? So it's actually become really nice, because students on 2 different FRC teams are now trading tips on how to cut a piece of whatever it is exactly in half and extrude, right? Arvin's nodding, he was listening in and helping them, right? It was 2 different students with 2 different methods of how to do it. And I found that really nice, and almost a benefit of COVID and having to do it virtually, right? When would that happen otherwise? That they'd be learning from each other.
And I think, so adding in with that as well, so with the CAD that we have been working on, and students have been working on, and getting help from our 2020 seniors, in addition to myself, they set a goal for themselves that what they're working on in their CADs serves a purpose back to what we're doing as a team. So one was working on a safety ladder for something that we have to fix and redo here at our shop at school. But the vast majority of them are working on things that either can be 3D printed or can be done on our CNC machine to be able to sell. So they're kind of looking at that, a further route of being able to continue to practice skills. They can send it to me. I can work to get that done for them and have it over the side, and then a way to continue to fundraise and earn money that way.
Good idea. So I think CAD seems to work. Like we could do it remotely. But what about teaching the kids other skills that we need in FRC? Programming, for instance, or electronics. Any suggestions for how we can teach skills beyond CAD?
Programming, I think, would be very similar to the CAD, where you can meet over Zoom and or Discord and just teach programming similar as you would teach CAD. GitHub is definitely very useful for collaborating across distances, and I highly recommend you use GitHub. The VS Code has an extension called Live Share that you can probably use in the VS Code software so that you can share and program together in live time. But definitely to learn it, I think just a simple Zoom call or Discord, and where the experienced kid teaches all the rest of the team, is the best route to go.
I doubly, yes, agree with that. Totally. GitHub is amazing. One of the things that we started doing was looking for online courses for electronics. There is actually one that I've been using a little bit of. It's called classcentral.com, and it's Introduction to Electronics. So it's a free audited class, so you can just audit it. It's about 5 to 7 hours. We've had a couple of kids that are interested in that. And so that's something that they have been working on. I was trying to find the other one. There's another one that they have been using, but that helps get the kids. And what we want to try to do with FIRST Robotics is get these kids interested in something they don't normally get to. So, if you have a kid who's really into, the programming, maybe they get into this electronics class and they're like, oh, okay, that's cool. So giving them an experience is what I try to do.
Could
You
you
really,
that link, Stacy, in the chat?
I would love to.
Thank you.
There's a really great website that I also discovered in an engineering class called draw.io. And it's really simple, but it's great for like modeling electronics boards. So one thing that I would find really interesting is to have a picture of your electronics board of some sort and to kind of walk the newer students, like the same thing, have an older student talk with the newer students about it and draw out like their thinking behind their own electronics board. I think that'd be really useful to see it literally and modeled at the same time.
I've used draw.io as well. It's nice. I think you can even connect it with Google Drive and share it with other people.
Another interesting thing that could possibly be done for electronics is using a software where you can draw out your the FRC electronic components. I think our team used FritzSync, which is a software where it has RoboRio, the Talons, and all the other electronic components built into it. And then you can attach them together as if it were in real life. You can drag the wires to the correct spots, and I think that would be a great way. It's not easy to share, but you can use Zoom or something and guide new members through it.
Yep, I put a link to that in the chat as well.
Yeah, if I can add as well on the topic of training students, because we've shared a couple of different courses from different resources that we've used during the year as we're training members, both in person and kind of as we're working on things on weekends where we don't meet physically. What I found to be very important is just making sure that there are consistent meetings throughout the week between either teams of students or even whole team meetings, just to keep everyone on track. As I've noticed with a lot of the online courses and self-paced courses, a lot of students lose a lot of steam over time as far as completing courses. And so being there to help students get through certain hurdles of the course, or determining how far as a team that we want to progress in a particular area. Of course, students that have interest will kind of go and complete whatever they wish. But yeah, keeping the team on track as far as training objectives is very important, just because it's easy to get burned out or even just bored out of certain courses that initially start very well and then end up just petering out as far as the ability of the student to complete them. And so at least that's what I've noticed with some of the free courses that I've seen as well. So.
And we can also do this as a workshop. I mean, sometimes, if you just give the kids a touch of what it is, then you can build a course on it later. But if you give a workshop, then these kids actually have, some, different experiences. Maybe it's for, a morning or something on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. That's where we kind of get their interest.
Yeah, and Zoom has a feature called breakout rooms, which is really great for this, where you can have like a whole team meeting, and then maybe you have like sub-team leads. Like if you're interested in electrical, like this person's going to be talking about what it's like to be on the electrical team for 5 minutes or something like that, so people can kind of dip their toes in the water and see what they're interested in.
One more comment on the programming side of things. The FRC software has a basic simulator built in that is definitely sufficient for learning how to program the FRC components.
Mom, it looks like you're trying to talk, but you're muted right now.
I was going to say real quick, if you don't mind me jumping in real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, a question for Arvin and Sanjay. Going back to the FLL session we had, you guys mentioned working with programming across multiple places with the Google Chrome desktop. Do you see that as being a useful tool as far as collaborating with CAD or programming for FRC?
It is. Chrome Remote Desktop is probably useful, but there are other tools because now with the FRC is text-based programming languages in the standard IDE VS Code, with the exception of LabVIEW, of course. There are other easier collaboration tools, such as a live share I was talking about earlier.
Okay.
But Chrome Remote Desktop is definitely an option.
Next slide, Sanjay. All right, so we all know that outreach usually should play a big part of FRC teams. The big question is, how can an FRC team do outreach if we can no longer hold the events that we used to?
I think one way to do outreach kind of now that you can't be more in person is to really revamp your social media. And I think that's something a lot of people kind of like forget or just kind of never gets dealt with, but that's a really great way for people to reach out to your team. And everyone, I mean, I sit on the couch on my phone for multiple hours in a day. So I am all over social media. I'm sure everyone else is too. So spending, you know, $5 or $10 to maybe promote a team ad, and then your marketing team can kind of get some experience with that too. So I would say social media is really going to be crucial to reaching out and recruiting, honestly, since you probably can't do any large in-person events where people can learn about your team, which is unfortunate. But I think social media is going to be really key to getting the word out.
Should we start a TikTok revolution here for FRC, Alex?
I am so in.
You're so in. I knew you would be. You're my girl. You're my girl. I can't talk my team into it. They're such stickers.
We'll make all kinds of robotics dances.
I'm in.
Dances for different equations.
I love it. Let's do it. I'm on there. One of the things, outreach is one of my favorite things, and it's what we do a lot in South Florida, and it is difficult. So, I mean, one of the things that we're thinking about is, you know, what is your passion on the team? Do you have a student that is passionate about, you know, helping others? Do you have a student that's passionate about, you know, something? And that's where we're heading. You know, we've had obviously the PPE. I'm hoping every FRC team has done something for PPE. If not, that is a definite need, and they need to get that out there, because that's an easy thing. That's something that, you know, you can get newspapers involved and the news involved. The other thing that I really love is, you know, right now we have a lot of people who are out of work. One of the things that we have here is called Elevate Hope. It's a community service program. And so, you know, getting our kids involved with helping others, you don't need a whole team to do that. You just need one kid with a team shirt on and a mask to go do something, and then put it on social media, just like Alex said. You know, we don't need a whole group of kids to go do something. We just need to change our kids' attitudes and, like, hey, if you're going to go out and do da-da-da-da, you know, wear a team shirt and promote your team, and, you know, take a picture, you know, selfies. But outreach is got to be internal too. I mean, we don't just do outreach just to make ourselves look good. We do outreach because it's meaningful, and that's what we are. It's our core values. It's our gracious professionalism. It's everything that we want to be. So, and we want our kids to be. So find something that they're passionate about. These kids are extremely passionate. You know, find something that makes them feel like this is something meaningful, and then put your team behind it. And it's, you know, don't do something just because everybody does it. Do it because it's meaningful.
So for us, I know that definitely outreach is something that really drives all the teams that I'm able to work with. And it's something that through our community, a lot of other community organizations actually look to our first teams as, you know, we're a resource that they ask or invite to come in to do things. And one of the things we typically do is a camp of some kind. And we've been doing Asher Camp actually as a partner with NASA's Stennis Space Center for this, now going into our 4th year. So doing it that way, our students decided that they really wanted to offer it as a virtual is a virtual option. And one of the neat parts about it is not everybody wants to be on a video, or knows what they want to be able to say, or, you know, when you're actually working with somebody in an outreach event, you're getting feedback from them all the time. And so that was something that was difficult for some of our students. But we actually got to find out that some of our students are really, really good at splicing together videos and doing different things that way, or developing skills where they actually put together some things that they could give to teachers, since our school system for at least 7th grade through 12th grade will be virtual. So they've put together tips on things that they did with the Google sites and stuff like that to be able to have and share. So that's been something that they could collaborate on virtually, and that they've enjoyed. They've really enjoyed doing that.
I'm gonna add 2 really quick things onto social media. So there's a really cool part of Instagram where you can change your account to a business account, and it lets you see a lot of insights about who you're reaching, which is really great, because you can look and you can say, oh, we're reaching this age group, but we want to be reaching this age group. How can we more gear our content towards whoever we're looking for? So that's really great, and it's free. It shows you a ton of stuff. Another great resource for really all marketing and a lot of outreach stuff too is Canva. It's an in-browser design tool that is super powerful. I've used Canva for a couple of years now. I make everything on Canva. I've gotten all my FRC kids on Canva. It's really great and it's free. So definitely look that out. And look that up. And they have a ton of like Instagram templates that you can use and all kinds of stuff. But it's really great.
One of the other things that we were been doing is we love camps. I mean, camps is our thing, but we can't do them. I mean, we're not allowed to here in Florida, South Florida especially. So what we decided to do is we have lots of Lego that have been donated. An easy way to get Lego is to put a sign up at your doctor's offices saying, hey, we're collecting Lego, and usually the doctor's offices will keep them for you, and they'll call you when they get about, 30 or 40 pounds of Lego in the box, and you go pick them up. So we do the Lego, we wash them in our dishwasher, so they're clean, and then we put them in baggies with little examples of things that you can build with your Lego, with the Lego, and we give them out. A lot of times, as you're doing with the food at the schools, they will also allow us to pass out the Lego to the families too that are coming to pick up food. That is an outreach right there. And if you're trying to reach middle school kids to get them into, as they come into 9th grade, coming into your program, there you go. You've got one little click in that they remember. And everybody loves Lego. I mean, it's, universal. So that's what we're doing instead of camps this year.
Yeah, very similar to what Stacy was just talking about. We did that very early when everything's just started shutting down here in Ohio. We did grab bags where I think we had like 500 grab bags our team put together, which is various STEM activities. And then through the website each day they released a different challenge. I think we took that out to be about a week. We had Lego stuff to build and various different very simple STEM activities to do. And that was very, very popular. I mean, we had 500 bags. We were expecting to give them out over a weekend. I think we were done within like 2 hours. It was crazy. So it's a very, very easy outreach to do.
That's brilliant too, because that gets them to your website. That is awesome. What a great idea. I'm going to do that. So so that gets them to your website. I'm pulling that one. So that gets them to your website. That's another part that kind of keeps everybody connected and gets them to keep looking at your website and on your social media, Facebook. That's a great idea.
The social media mentions throughout probably for like 2 or 3 weeks after that was huge. So it definitely connected us with the community. It was very much goodwill, and it very much got the name out. It was a good time.
Yeah, I was going to say that I've seen some stuff with First in Canada was doing a weekly Lego build and having the kids show it through Facebook. Is also a good way to do it, to get the kids engaged with the Legos and basically saying, hey, this week we're building this. Everybody's got Legos. Go ahead, build that and show us what you've built this week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I've seen lots of FRC teams do various kinds of webinars. This is a team out in Texas that partnered with their regional director to host like a whole day of webinars on different topics related to FIRST. I saw Indiana teams doing that, and Mid-Atlantic, and of course even what we're doing right now in a way that's, you know, community outreach. We are collaborating with others. We're getting the word on FIRST out. We're encouraging teams to occur this year, right? We are effectively promoting FIRST by being involved in such things. And I think we are in a way in a lucky time of life where we have internet access and computers and all these wonderful tools like Zoom, and we can do a lot online. So some of my FRC kids who are in Sharon, they actually ran a virtual FLO, not FLO, it's like programming EV3 camp all week last week. So only the team, like the organizers, the teachers, met in the classroom 6 feet apart. The students were all at home. So the week before, they had to come pick up a kit of parts from the teacher. And it was a standard core robot, nothing fancy. But my FRC kids were remotely teaching them things during the week, and it was only this like 3-hour camp. So it wasn't crazy because little kids are not going to spend 6 hours a day on a computer. And so they did run it virtually. And we were lucky enough to be able to borrow that equipment and use it in such a manner. If you don't have access to 10 EV3s, yeah, that's a problem. But at least the annual camp still happened, you know, albeit a little bit differently. And you guys have seen the stuff that Sanjay and Arvind constantly share, usually on Share and Learn, the Lego builds that they did all summer long. There were FLL mini builds, then all these little webinars. And today they just announced that they're going to host one FLL webinar a week. And several of you on this call are actually involved in it, between kickoff and first week of December, hopefully culminating in some kind of scrimmage. So, you know, these are not exclusive activities that are somehow only privileged to my children or Share and Learn, or hopefully it inspires people to say, hey, you can do a different outreach. Like, we suspect that we are not going to be able to host the annual FLL tournament that we always do first weekend of December. I'm predicting that. So instead, Sanjay and Arvind said, well, why don't we just do it online then? And if we're going online anyway, let's just open it up to everybody. Why does it have to be only Pittsburgh teams? Right? That's outreach. It's now, in a way, even better, because now we get to touch teams beyond our local, within an hour of us. So that's nice. And, you know, last year we went and actually helped at Andy's tournament and another tournament in Akron. I don't know if those tournaments will happen or not. And if they go virtual, there is an opportunity for our FRC kids to help out, because now you don't even have to travel to them. And I know not every role an FRC student can do, but there might be. For example, if we do live robot runs, we could have a virtual queuer sitting in Discord, moving the team to the right spot. That could be a role for an FRC student. If we have a scrimmage, there's no reason why an FRC student cannot be the one judging and giving feedback, especially if they have a ton of FLL experience in their background. So I think we just need to reinvent what we think is outreach. And if you can't go to a live event, then fine. So now we have virtual events. What in a virtual event can an FRC team do? Okay, we can't go out and have a booth in the library. Okay, but we could hold a webinar. You know, what part of that can the FRC student do? I think we just need to reinvent what outreach means in FRC. And it is still possible. I think we just have to get a little creative.
Yeah,
I think that. Go ahead, Andy.
I was going to say, is that my big thing with outreach is always looking to your community and finding a need. And when you find that need, In this day and age, we now have to find a creative way to help.
Yep.
And the FRC kids have always been able to been creative in how we can find that help. And I think that's where we are right now. Go out, look at your community, what's going on, see what's going on, and then being able to go, hey, this is where we need help. It doesn't have to deal with robots, it doesn't have to deal with anything. It's just what is that, what needs to happen right now, and being able to be, think outside the box and try to help that out.
And I think, feeding off of what Asha was just saying, I think our FRC kids, virtually speaking, not necessarily just first events, but they're experts in this whole virtual environment, whether it's Discord or Zoom or whatever. Create opportunities for your community. There's going to be teachers are going to be frazzled. The students are going to be missing more one-on-one attention, I think, than they ever have before. That creates opportunities. I mean, our kids are smart kids. They can do, they can do meetings after school virtually for tutoring or anything else, or just they can help other students set up their own virtual whatever. I mean, that's their expertise, and I think that's what they're learning, and that if they can share that, that's a natural need they can fill. I think that's an outstanding opportunity.
Yeah, I think to add to that as well is that, many of our teams and students throughout the school years in the past have probably worked with different teams as mentors. Some of my alumni who kind of drive around the city here in Vegas, try to help out different teams. Some of them, well past into the years of college as well, but, enjoy that process of just working with different teams. But trying to figure out, throughout this coming school year, whatever form it may take, is figuring out a schedule within our team about how we continue to support our other FLL and FTC teams, as well as other FRC teams that we work with. In some ways, and substitute, but also just to fill in the time, because a big part of the experience that a lot of students look forward to on my team with FRC is just meeting students from all around the school district. Where we got a huge school district, but it makes it that much smaller and more close knit of a community with the first community. So that's what we're looking forward to, trying to figure out our plan and our schedule once we get a better idea from the state and the governor on what the plans are for this school year. I'm sure many of us are in that same boat.
All right, Sanjay, next slide. All right, so this is the big hard one. What if we could meet in person? How in the world do we keep them safe?
This is all about making a plan, I believe, is the right way to do it, is to come out and say, hey, this is what happens when you walk through the door, and this is how you're going to meet. And so even if you do things, you're going to set stuff up in stages and groups and areas. And then, this is how we're going to sanitize and move forward. But it's all about setting that plan up before you guys actually meet in person.
One thing that I was thinking about earlier, and this kind of goes with training too. One thing that I think is going to be a big issue is if you're building one robot, you have 30 kids on your team, are they all going to be touching the robot like throughout practice? So I feel like keeping that clean is going to be really difficult. So one thing that I would suggest maybe is pairing off or grouping, like maybe one older student and a younger student, or like one experienced student and someone that's new to the team. If you can, keep it in small groups, and then kind of force the older students into like explaining how to do things versus them doing it. So it's kind of two birds, one stone, since only the new students can kind of have their hands on things to keep it like as clean as possible. It kind of tricks the experienced students into really thinking about it and explaining it versus showing them and hoping they follow along.
I totally, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I'm a big proponent of taking that schedule and saying, hey, okay, so now we have instead of everybody meeting every day, which is pretty much what we all do, is now we're looking at, okay, so build is meeting on Mondays, programming's there on Tuesdays,
Yeah.
and separating them out that way, so that way not everybody is in the building at the same time. Not everybody's in the build space at the same time.
Yeah, and another thing that we've really got to work on, and we have our safety captains. The safety captains need to be involved in making that plan. That is their, that should now be their responsibility. And of course they have an adult mentor overseeing that. But, the kids have to put skin in the game. the kids have to be in charge of something, and this is a really good way for them to, you know, be in charge of it and get this through. I love what Alex said. We have that. It's called Adopt a Rookie program. And so all of our older veteran students have the younger students, and they come in and they do it together. They're a team. This is just common sense. And I love what he said about having a plan. That makes it just, you know, if you have a plan, then everything's going to go a little bit smoother. And common sense. I mean, you're going to have to take people's temperatures when they come in. You're going to have to follow social protocol because that's what's being required from most of our schools and our communities. You got to follow that. You know, and if we as adults say, okay, this is what we're doing, this is our plan, you know, and have the kids involved in that plan, and it should go smoother. It should be.
One
Yeah,
thing
to
really
add to that,
quick.
oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think to add to that, and something I wanted to do actually during the summer, if the school would have given me access to the building to work in the shop, was to mark off spaces, looking at different layouts that I'm seeing from the workforce in different, whether it be manufacturing industries or many other close quarter types of environments that some of my students work in, like mechanic shops and the like, is looking at ways that we can also do this similar treatment to our workspace. And also, you know, making sure that there's visible signage for the current protocols and any new ones that are coming out as well, just to get a head start on that. But obviously, we are where we are here in the summer, and you know, as the school year proceeds, I'm sure we'll all figure out what that looks like. But I think, you know, putting students, especially in a comment on the safety captain's part, is making sure those students are involved with this process and communicate that on a regular basis with students. Just getting used to calling out students who are not obeying the protocols, you know, social distancing, on top of our other safety steps that we go through in training a new team, and also, you know, throughout the school year. So
really quick. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. I was just gonna add on with that having had a little bit of experience now with that, because with where we are in our region, we are slated to start back to school actually in less than a month now. And so one of the things with that is they had to look at opening up for summer sports or high school sports. And we were very fortunate, and somehow with that they decided to let's do a test. And so our FRC team, we found out that once we got to a certain point in a phase that we would be considered as summer sports or high school sports. And so we did do a lot of the things that everyone has suggested, you know, all the regulations that came out from the governor's office and from the High School Athletics Association as well for cleanliness, and because they were talking about definitely different contact sports. We had several Zoom meetings. Everybody got on and gave input. So it was working with safety captains to do some of the research on it, but everybody needed to buy onto it. And so, you know, it is taking temperatures. It is looking at, you know, we happen, and that's probably one of the reasons that it was looked at for our FRC team, is we are very blessed to have a huge build space. Because we are in the old, what was once an automotive and woodworking shop for our district here at our high school. And so some of the things, and that's where every once in a while you may see people behind me, or I have two of our mentors here right now that we're working on things with upgrading our lighting. But we also have to look at the ventilation and stuff like that as well. And this, again, because we used to have welding and stuff that occurred in here, it was a little bit easier for us to be able to take some of those considerations. But when we are able to meet, that is something to where, because we are a pretty big team, but we have schedules that we keep with, and they work with together on that, and actually do a combination to where there's somebody from electrical, there's somebody from build, somebody from programming in that way, to where they can work in phases.
Two really quick things to add, and then unfortunately I have to hop off. So I'm from a team that practice in a semi-abandoned art gallery with no space at all. So we would have been screwed during this time. So if you're in kind of a really small meeting space, anything you can take outside, take it outside. UV light does a great job at killing things. So less you have to clean, if you can, if marketing is meeting and they really only need their laptops and you can go sit in a field behind your high school, go sit in a field behind your high school. It's just a better way to kind of lower the risk, less stuff you have to clean. But for the stuff you do have to clean, a really great cheap cleaner is to take 1 part bleach and 10 parts water and just mix it up. It's awesome. It's really simple, and it does a great job of cleaning things. Just use white rags with them, or rags you don't care about. But yeah, that's been great when we've been kind of cleaning our shop. But yes, I have to go, but this was really awesome. I'm glad I could talk with you guys, and it was really great to see some familiar faces.
Bye, Alex.
Yeah.
Bye.
So what's nice is that we're hearing a lot of optimism that it is possible. See, my image in my head is 5 children all around that little robot, some under, some over, some beside. That's our usual, right? Even though I have a tiny, tiny team of 10. Even then we had 5, and we have only 1 set of everything. So, kid 1 uses the wrench, then kid 2 is touching it the next second. So
Well,
it's nice to hear that we just need to think of a plan and think this out.
well, look at this. We have, 6 months to build a robot when we normally have 6 weeks. So spread it out, There's no reason for us to have, and we all know it. We all know the engineers. We all know those people. They're not going to listen. So, it's like, this is the training. Maybe we should get like the yellow flags they do in football, throw a yellow flag when we see, too many people in an area. I don't know, something fun. We don't want this to be, yelling at everybody. We want this to be something that, is a learning experience. And I loved what you said about taking this as what they already do in the training and in the companies and stuff. Let's do that. That's definitely something, we're training these kids to be able to go into the workforce in the future. So let's train them into that way of thinking. Safety is extremely important. I think this is a great opportunity, and we might need to have to retrain our mentors, but the adults can learn, and I think the kids can be great leaders in this.
Anything else anyone has to add on this topic, or we'll move on to the next one? Right, next slide, Sanjay. All right. Now, this one was a common one through all our sessions for FLL and FTC. How do we create a sense of team if we don't get to meet in person anymore, or get to meet in person very few times? Any ideas?
Well, I think we lost probably the key person. I think yeah. Alex would have loved this one, because I believe with the kids today, social media is their way of connecting and being a part of that team. Get everybody involved. I said, I know for a fact that my team has a Discord. I don't use it. I've never been on Discord in my life, but the team is on Discord, and they're on Discord every day talking to each other. I think they have the mechanism and they're used to it, and the other things they're doing. But getting them involved in the social media and communicating, that's how you're going to keep these kids together, and even more so during this time.
I think that as long as teams find a way to communicate with each other and figure out how they can work on a project together, like collaboratively, that they're going to have that sense of team, even if they're not right next to each other.
Yeah, and I agree. It's like even doing the simple things, right? It's like have a use Zoom and have a team movie night, and everybody can sit in and watch one movie. Everybody watch the same movie, and they can sit and they can chat and they can do that kind of things. And I think that's you can do those teamwork type activities, but now we're doing them digitally or remote or separated, but we can all still have a common idea.
Yeah, movie night, fun things. Jackbox TV is awesome. They have the kids enjoy what they're doing and enjoy being around each other. That's brilliant. So I love the movie night idea. But we are a sense of team, and it's a family. We're a first family, and open it up to other first teams if you want to. I mean, I got to hang out with Patty and Asha doing a volunteer judges game night, and it was awesome. And I think there's nothing wrong with us spreading the love of first through other teams too.
Agree. Yeah, and Shipra also mentions game night with her rookie FRC team in the chat.
I think it's really awesome how we're talking about how we're opening up to having other teams do these things with us. And I think that without COVID, we might have not have done those things, and seeing that we can communicate as we're doing it all online anyway, we might as well include other people and other teams. I think that's a really nice side effect of the pandemic.
Yep. Well said. All right. Why don't we move on to the next question? Okay. So since we are slotted to replay most of Infinite Recharge, how do you think we're going to keep our students, both our veteran students as well as any new ones that we add, engaged if potentially they're not going to build a robot from scratch or not have to design from scratch? Any ideas?
I can speak to this one. This is my thing. I want these kids engaged. I want them excited. So my idea this year is looks like a lot of our regional competitions will be smaller drive teams coming in. They're going to be like maybe one day is what they're looking at, and multiple runs in one day. And so what I would like to do is go to multiple events. So, head out to one regional competition. We don't need a huge bus. We don't need to spend the night at a hotel. We just go for the one day. We take those 10, 15, 20 kids, however many kids they allow us to have, and then they go to another event, and we have different kids. So yes, you have an awesome drive team, but you know what? Let's share the love this year. Let's have multiple drive teams. Let's have as many kids as we possibly can go to different events and get them all excited, because that's what this is about. We're going to keep these kids excited. I don't know what the year is going to look like. I'm imagining in my head this is what's going to happen, but things can change, and I just want to give these kids excited about what they can do. We are teaching a video production class. We're getting kids certified, so these kids will start doing videos for our chairman's awards and start doing animation. So we're teaching an animation class. So these kids are learning new skills, but yet that's going to help the team in the long run, because we need animation safety videos. We need a chairman's video. We need these kids to all learn how to drive and learn to be a human player and all these amazing things they can do. I think spreading the love out, spreading those jobs out, rather than just having a core set of teams. I think that's going to be the beneficial for us in our area.
At least as far as our team went, once they got done making fun of the color wheel and having to put up with that some more, they realized that they had more of an opportunity to refine what they have, and they're very excited about making that better. So as far as boredom or being frustrated with the game again, I don't think they saw that. They're seeing it as an opportunity to go deeper with what they have and perfect what they have. So they're at least my team's very excited about that, and they're one team that was blessed to have at least one competition that they were able to compete at. So at least they're not sick of the game. So just speaking for my team, but that was their reaction.
And I would definitely agree with that as well. It's the excitement of actually getting to continue in the engineering process. You know, you really get into working with a particular game and a particular robot, and then you stop and you have to take it apart and then move on to the next game. And I think I was happy to see that that was really the take that a lot of the students had. And we were another fortunate group. We went to a week 2 competition that was held in Little Rock, Arkansas. And so they did have a chance to see what the wheel would look like in person, along with those yellow balls, and working with them. So I think they are excited.
We were week 3, and we were all on the field for the for the kids meeting, drivers meeting, and 9:05 they called it and said everybody clean it up and go away. So
We all heard about that. That was crushing. That was.
I'm
oh,
sitting here on the
man.
field as the lead queuer, and I was bawling. I
Oh,
could not stop
that hurts.
crying.
That hurts.
It was painful, and I am thrilled that we get to play again. I am not happy that the kids have decided to rebuild the robot, but I mean, what can you do? It's their robot. It's their decision. But it's tough. It's tough, and I'm glad First has actually listened to what we were asking. So it feels good.
That's better than rebuilding between weeks 3 and 5, which we've done.
And I would agree, as a rookie team, we did get to play, but I still think this is the best outcome possible for us, both from a funding perspective and an experience perspective. We also lost our home between COVID and now, so we don't even have a place to meet. So if someone said, you know, you have to start all over again, it's almost like, can you please cut us a break? So we lost everything now. So I'm actually glad, and I think we can figure out things for the kids to learn. My kids are learning CAD right now, and yes, they don't get to build a robot physically, and we probably will use 90% of whatever we have. I think Arvin, you took off some part, and we stopped. We just literally dropped everything. We were supposed to compete 1 week from whenever we just stopped. So it's sitting in the corner the way it was. And so there's some pieces that will go back on, but I don't anticipate that they will start all over. We don't have funds to start all over anyway. So too bad, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're
We'll
probably
probably
gonna
continue.
we're probably just trying to improve and
Yeah.
the things that we have already and test it out as much as we can. But we're not going to be rebuilding it from scratch.
Yeah, I agree.
And you're okay with that, right? Like, I don't think it's going to be a worse experience, and because we're not doing it the same way we did it the first time round. The kids are just picking up different skills.
The longest no stop build season in the world.
So you know what? They learn to document a bit more. They're learning to CAD a bit more. Our team didn't make all those videos and stuff. So maybe I go out and encourage the kids, like you said, Stacy. Well, this year, try to make an animation video. We don't have to do chairmans, but just learn the process. And
do chairmans anyway. Even if you don't have to do it, do chairmans anyway. You will look back at it as a team that's 23 years old. You will look back at it and you will say, "Oh my, what we started with, it will be priceless to you." It's like your baby photos. It'll be priceless.
Yeah, so I think this is fine for us as well. I haven't heard any complaints from our students that they were actually relieved that, we get to be a rookie again and we get a shot at Worlds again. That's awesome, because that was the big. It's much harder when you're not a rookie.
Yes, it is.
So they were thrilled at the opportunity to replay. There was zero complaints from my students, not just my 2 kids, but my entire team was relieved. So we are grateful for it as well.
I said by the time you guys take competition next year, you should have the prettiest electronics, and everybody should have clean electronics come next year. And that's coming from the FTA and me. You better all have clean electronics next year. I shouldn't have to hunt for anything.
So that's the challenge from Andy to every team. Make them pretty.
We all want clean electronics. Sometimes
Yes.
we fall a little short of that.
Now you have the time.
Yes.
For some reason, I still picture our team in inspection chasing some electrical short somewhere. That's just going to happen.
All right. Well, next question, Sanjay.
Oops.
All right. So this is more of a hypothetical question. What does everyone think build season might look like in this new season? I know it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, I think, everyone's kind of touched on it in the sense that within the shop, having teams designated in particular areas that are also relevant to whatever the rules will be, whether it be school-based, but also just general protocol for social distancing, tools and tool safety, PPE. I've talked to my principal about that, what that's going to look like, and what the budget's going to be, in that area. Can we get help as a team, in that we work so often in the shop with paying for PPE, or having the school, if the school's getting additional resources, if we could be supported by that. In addition to that as well is trying to figure out a schedule like we discussed before, where instead of meeting literally every day for many, many months, figuring out, instead of for a particular student, 4 days a week, it could be 2, and then making sure that they're more engaged. I have a lot of seniors that graduated last year that kind of want redemption for not being able to finish their senior year the way they wanted, like many others, and they're looking to stay involved in some way. So figuring out all of those different situations is going to be important for our team. I know with our school district, they have a mandate that anyone coming in as volunteers, parents, etc., they all have to be tested for COVID and have to show proof. And so there's all little hurdles that we'll have to get through. But I think, along the lines of what has been discussed before, is just making sure that the spaces we utilize are within guidelines, and that we're doing everything we can to continue to communicate and educate our students and ourselves of this new reality that it looks like it'll be like that for a while, of working within close quarters with build season. So.
Yep. Next question, Sanjay. Right, so this was a question asked, what if you're not allowed to meet as often? So a lot of the plans, like Ben was suggesting, is, well, you split them up. On Monday, the build team comes, on Tuesday, electronic comes, or how are we going to handle it if we're not allowed to go in as often, perhaps? Or like in my case, it's not at all, but are there any options for teams who have a much more restrictive place to be?
Well, I know that down here in Palm Beach County, there is a, vivid rumor, but it's pretty much that's what they're going to do right now. They're not allowing any after-school programs. It probably will change once things get a little bit normaler, hopefully. But for right now, you have to listen to what your school district says. If you are a school district team, you have to listen to them. You have to follow the rules. First is all about, being, good citizens, and we're going to follow the rules. If you belong to 4-H, if you're a 4-H team, 4-H is not allowing anybody to meet right now if you're a 4-H team in person. So you have to follow. But at the same time, guys, we have a multitude of things online that you can still, grab the kids like we've discussed before. There's a lot of different things you can still do. You can, send somebody out and do, making prototypes, and then video, let's see the video of your prototype. Prototypes can be made out of anything and anywhere, and like what Alex said earlier, was the cardboard and the straws and whatever you want. So you got to think a little bit outside the box. But just because you can't meet does not mean you're not a team. So.
Also doesn't mean that you can't be working on it either. Like, you can do a lot of planning beforehand, even if you can't work on the actual robot, designing, as you were saying, prototyping as well, doing CAD design, planning outreach. A lot of stuff that you can do, even if you're not meeting.
As my favorite thing, we are not just FIRST Robotics. We are more than a robot. So, make that plan. And if the plan has to change, make a plan B. If plan B doesn't work, make plan C. No matter what, you're still a team. Just, ask for help and figure, just work outside the box.
Good idea. All right, next slide, Sanjay. All right, so a rookie team that starts this year is going to obviously have a very different first season compared to any of us. Even my rookie team had at least a somewhat, quote, normal season. How can we seasoned FRC teams kind of support our rookies and make them feel like what FRC is about? Any thoughts?
I know here in the state of Ohio, we try very hard to connect an older team with a younger team, and to make sure that there's mentor teams for those teams. And we want to make sure that if they can meet, we're getting them active. It's like my biggest thought here for Ohio was how do I get a base kit of parts, a base robot kit into the hands of anybody who wants to be a rookie team for 2021. That is my goal right now. That's what I want to do. I want to make sure that if they can meet, they can at least start working on a robot, even though FIRST isn't going to get them, they're not going to get their base kit of parts until probably January like they normally would. Is there a way we can get that in their hands? But then again, at the same time, we're working with what rules do we have in order to make it happen and be able to meet with them. I think our goal always with the mentor team is that there's some communication starting to work with those teams as soon as we identify them as a rookie team and try to get them to understand what FIRST is. So we live in Ohio. So you guys live in parts of the country where sports is an individual school thing or an individual thing, and they don't look to other teams helping them. And we need to instill that culture into a rookie team as early as we can.
And I definitely think you need to lean on your FIRST senior mentors, your Vistas, your program delivery partners, your regional directors, all the people from FIRST. Lean on them. I mean, the rookies, this is your lifeline. And I know for a fact our FSMs in South Florida, she's fantastic. And she knows who's brand new, and she will definitely go out and assist and bring people together. I love that idea that Andy just said, your older teams mentoring your younger teams. I mean, we offer all the time, but I mean, doing this virtually, how easy is this now? I mean, before, you're building your robot, you got to do the robot. Oh yeah. You can't do anything else. Well, now look at this joy that we have. We can help these these rookie teams. I mean, wow, that's great. So definitely lean on your FIRST people, because that's what they're there for.
I agree wholeheartedly. Even in a non-COVID season, leaning on your FIRST people has had a huge impact certainly on 8027, and Andy's the senior mentor that we leaned on. So what he says is absolutely true. And he did get us going the summer before and introduced us to how to build a chassis. And it basically jump-started the process so that we weren't feeling totally lost in January. And I think this year more than ever, feeling that connection is going to be very important. Any other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next question, Sanjay.
Okay.
All right, so this is a big one. Usually during this time, we're recruiting new kids to join our team. So how in the world do we recruit new kids if they can't come meet us, see our robot, hear about us in person? And same for mentors. How do we recruit mentors? And also the flip side of this is expectations. How do we set up the correct expectation level with these new guys so that we're not over promising or under promising? What do we tell them to make them still want to join our team?
This is an Alex question.
It
She should be here. I think social media is how we're going to connect with our kids. I mean, that's what this is all about. When our kids, when our teen members, you know, they wear their outfits, they wear their shirts, they wear their hats, they, you know, they brag about it on social media. I mean, that's what this is all about. And a lot of our kids are introverts, but we have those few that are extroverts. So let them, you know, let them be the rock stars of social media. I think that's a great idea that Alex said. I think with us getting our mentors and keeping our mentors, we reach out to our sponsors and our local companies, and we, you know, we can do them now virtually. So we actually we got the Department of Defense. We got into the grant that they just put out, and we actually got someone who came in just to help us with getting that grant, and now he's going to be part of the team. He lives in Montana or something like that, and he's actually going to be virtually helping the team. So that's amazing. Our expectations, you know what, right now we're just glad that people are joining and people are staying. So our expectations are probably going to be a little lower this year than normal, but it's okay. I mean, it is okay if our team is not as big. You know, we're robust and we're gonna make it. The only thing is sustainability. So in my mind, that's this huge word, sustainability. What's going to keep us sustaining? What's going to keep us going for next year? Do we, you know, that's where we are right now.
There's a good question in the chat from Charles. How many team members and mentors are needed for a good rookie experience?
I would say for our team in our rookie season, we had 10 members and 3 mentors. And we had a very small meeting space, so that was probably close to the amount of people that we could actually sustain. But I think it worked out well for a good rookie experience because since we had such a small team, all the members were able to get a little bit of everything. We didn't have to specialize as much, and so as a rookie, we got to try out lots of different things and find out what we like.
I think, and adding with that too is one of the things that's been helpful is you have certain mentors. Like we had lost connection with one of our mentors because they had multiple things come up with their job and just had a new baby come into their life and stuff like that, that we've actually regained that mentor through Slack, and is one that we're able to connect with quite often, and the students interact with a lot now just for troubleshooting and help with CAD. So being able to do that has been helpful, and with the reaching out and getting new mentors, I know a team that is not one, it's a team that we collaborate with, just did a really great video to be able to share, since we won't have like a club night at school. And so instead they put together this really great video to be able to have on their school's website so that new students would be able to see what it was all about too.
It's something that just occurred to me off the top of my head, so maybe it's just a half-baked idea, but since FIRST, I mean, obviously now with the robot, but so much lends itself to more of a virtual environment, that's an opportunity to recruit other kids that may be normally participating in fall sports, full contact sports that they can't do. But now, well, maybe robotics is something they can do if it's online or, you know, limited is in-person stuff. So maybe that's an opportunity. I don't know. Like I said, that just popped in my head. So maybe it's crazy.
No, I love that idea. And I was thinking, same thing you were, Joe. I was thinking drama. That would be awesome to get the drama kids, because we need drama kids for judging and chairmans and all the other things that we're doing. That's an awesome idea.
Yeah, I'm going back to Charles's question. Is there a magic number? I don't know. I mean, we met FRC teams with 80 kids and my eyes just popped wondering what would 80 do and how would I manage 80 kids and 80 families. 10 was a sweet spot for us to start with. That's probably because we came up from First Lego League and I'm kind of used to the 10. It was the right amount of families and emails and money and that I could probably handle. There was a lot to learn. I'm not going to lie. FRC was a big jump from everything from administrative to fundraising to the 6-week tight deadline instead of 15, 20 weeks. It wasn't easy, but was it doable? Yeah. Did I have great people I could contact? Like, Andy would get emails from me. Andy, I don't know what this is. He would reply to me, or he would actually show up at our team meetings, which was even better. But my point is that if you can manage, but 10 was a sweet spot for us. And as Arvind said, it kind of gave us that little bit of a small family feel when we were all learning. Would my team have benefited from having a wonderful mechanical mentor? Probably yes. As Andy can attest, our first robot literally snapped in two and became just a chassis the very first time it went out. That's because we didn't know what to do. The kids had never built anything but Lego, and guess what? Mentors hadn't either. So yeah, if you are going to get a mentor and you can get a mechanical engineer who has some familiarity, Charles, I would say that's great. I wouldn't say that, we learned from it and our team has tended to be like, whatever, it happened. We learned from it, we move on. Plus Andy connected us with some great teams in Ohio, just 20 minutes away from us. And during the build season, we actually drove our robot to their practice field one evening and said, can you look at this? Because we have no idea if we're on the right track. And their mentor just sat with us for an hour and critiqued different parts of it to the kids. There was a lot of redo, but it was good to hear from an experienced mentor saying, that might fall apart, that you might want to fix. So we did benefit from having a mentor. But even if you can't get a mentor yourself, if you have access to one like we did, right? 20 minutes away, we can go call on someone, or we can Zoom call someone and say, can you see a robot? We did that with Joe's team several times. Sanjay and Arvind had a Discord group with Joe's team and another team, I think from Michigan, if I'm right.
Yes.
And when they were building some motor or something for the first time, things didn't fit. We'd never seen one before, so we didn't know it was right. Were the kids doing it wrong? Was the product wrong? No idea. Well, it was nice to be able to phone a friend and say, hey, here's a picture. Am I doing something wrong? Even though their mentors had no idea if it was right or wrong, we could call Joe and his team and say, can you take a look at this? And then they were like, that's not right. And so guess what? That evening, my husband contacted Vex and said, it seems to be not right. It's not fitting. And they admitted it was a mistake and they sent a new part in a week. So if you don't have a mentor who has that knowledge, it's okay. Develop this network of friends. And a lot of them, my friends are right here that I call and message when my kids and my team need help and say, is this right? And so you can kind of get a remote mentor, even if you only have 1 or 2 mentors for your team. Reach out to other teams, even far away ones, and get advice. But a mentor that can help you with mechanical, a mentor that can help you with programming, and then a mentor that can kind of help you with things like grants and procedural things, administrative, is nice. So the 3 mentors that Arvind mentioned, we overlap, but we also tried to specialize for them so that, if there was something to do with registering and whatever, they knew they had to come to me. Okay, stuff like that. Go ahead, Stacey.
I totally agree, Asha. One of the things that I see over the last few years is teams not be able to make it because their mentor, who was maybe a teacher, no longer could do the team. And so the team had to close and fold. Think about sustainability. It's always good to have too many mentors. Just so always advertise, always say, hey, just come by for an hour. Always have some kids on task when a visitor comes in for them to be the ones to show them around. That is the key. Always invite them to competitions, because that's like, our Kool-Aid. Once they get to the competitions, it's really hard for them to go away. That is why SPAM has so many mentors, and we've had mentors for over 20 years with us, because their kids have graduated a long time ago and they're still with us, because we really, really work on helping our mentors, keep them involved. And there's nothing, you can't have a team without a mentor. So you got to get some mentors. And I just cannot say that enough. And to me, the mentors are a family. And they are my family. I have some kids that graduated. They were my driver in 2002 is our electrical engineer mentor on the team. And his kids are now growing up and they'll be on the team. So that is sustainability. That's what this is all about. So just get through this year and just be excited for what you can achieve. Hey, I got a robot. It hit the carpet. We are so excited. Yes, there was magic smoke, but it was on the carpet. Enjoy those moments, okay? Because not every team's going to go to Houston or Detroit. Enjoy the moments that you do get and celebrate those.
Yeah, piggybacking on that with the mentor thing, our rookie year was 2 years ago. We started with 18 kids and we had 3 mentors. We went straight from FOL to FTC, straight to FRC, and that was a bit of a grind. So we were a bit tired, the 3 of us at the end. But what really, really made a difference our second year was we picked up 2 local college engineering students that were FRC alumni back home. And they stepped in and just really related to the kids. The kids loved them and took a lot of load off of us. That was huge. So yeah, you cannot simply have too many mentors. For whatever reason, we've always struggled finding mentors, but finding those students was awesome, and that took a tremendous weight off of us, and that's helped. So if that's an option, find engineering students. They often need co-ops or internships or real world experience, and a lot of them fall in love with it. So that would be my advice. Yeah, get more mentors you think you need, and get some college students, because they're fun to have around.
I would also add to that, don't underestimate the power of your parents. I will openly admit that my husband and I don't know how to cut wood, drill, screw. We didn't own anything but probably a hammer and a simple Phillips head before FRC started. We're incompetent and scared, okay? That bandsaw petrified me. The drill press was like an alien machine. What really helped was we said, hi parents, we're trying to set up. We went to the store and this nice man named Joe from Avi and Friends, he gave me a list of tools to buy. Well, I bought them, but they're in my trunk and I have no idea what to do with these boxes. Can you help? And guess what? A couple of the parents who they're policemen and whatever else jobs, they're just handy. They're handy dads. They came, they opened the box, much braver than I was, and to cut the manual, but really almost didn't need it. It's almost instinctive. But they set up these machines, and then they taught the kids how to use a drill press and how to use a bandsaw. So a mentor doesn't have to be an engineer, and a mentor doesn't have to be some professional person. Those are nice too, don't get me wrong, get those too. But sometimes if you're starting out as a rookie and you don't know how to do X, Y, and Z, like we didn't even know how to cut wood for their prototype. A dad said, oh, I'll bring my little handsaw, and said, I'll take the kid outside and show them how to do it. Make use of that. Or making our bumpers. We had a dad come and teach the kids how to saw and line it up. Yes, we were that naive. I'm sorry, but 8027 has come far from where we were last summer. And you can probably attest to that. We literally knew nothing but Lego. But use your parents. Ask them when you need X, Y, and Z. The next slide's about funding, but whether it's funding or building, ask them.
And also don't forget your grandparents.
Oh, yes.
Grandparents are amazing. Our number one help back years ago was this wonderful man named Jack, and he was 80 years old, and he taught us how to use the machines and the heavy machines and the lathe and all this awesome stuff. I will never forget him as long as I live. Amazing, amazing opportunity. So get your grandparents in there too.
Yeah, 8027's bumper material is sewn by a team grandma. And that's because she heard how horrible we were at our MVRC contest. It took us like an hour to take bumpers off and on, and we nearly cried. And this grandma said, "What do you need?" And we kind of explained to her we wanted the colors to flip. And guess what? We had almost the best bumpers around. So grandmas are amazing. So yes, please ask grandpas and grandmas as well. You never know who ends up being your mentor. All right, next slide. The next slide is about funding, and I have been on other webinars for FRC, and this is not a unexpected question. We all know that FRC costs an arm and a leg, and this year of all years, it's going to be hard to reach out to those corporate sponsors. So looking for some ideas on how can kids fundraise, and where can they start?
Well, FIRST has an awesome part on their website called the Toolbox or Toolkit for funding, for fundraising. So definitely look at that one. It has some great ideas, some templates on what you can use. We have, you know, we're looking for grants. We got hopefully the DOD, which is the Department of Defense grants coming through, donorschoose.org, Education Foundation in your area all have monies. If you are a 501c3, you can get a couple more grants in that way. If you are not a 501c3, you can become part of 4-H. Even if you're in the school system, you can still become part of 4-H and do, I think it's called a sit or skip, which is basically just a group that meets, and you also have 4-H, and you can get your 501c3 through 4-H that way. Always just keep going. You know, the funding for our team is we have a lot. We have a lot of money because we are constantly working on fundraising. Back in 2009, we almost went under because we only had one big sponsor, and that sponsor decided not to sponsor us, and we struggled. We were like, crud, we don't know what to do. So we never ever went through that again. We now have 78 sponsors. And we push constantly for more sponsors, and we have the kids going out for sponsors. This year is going to be tough. It is. But I think I froze. But you know, it's okay. You know, luckily we still have that money left over from last year because, you know, we didn't get on the field. But you know, we still are going to be pushing for sponsorship. We're still going to push it for grants. There are things that you can do, you know, you know, everybody knows the different fundraising things you could do with the PTOs and stuff like that. But always get your kids asking. And if your kids are wearing their shirts, and if they have the sponsors' names on the back, you need to remember those sponsors. We train our kids. If you're wearing our team shirt with the sponsors on the back, you're representing our sponsors. So don't do anything stupid. So, you know, all those kind of things, it's a constant reminder on getting new sponsors, getting new people, getting the names out. I think this year we're going to go with the yard signs, and we're going to go for a donation. It costs us about $3 to $4 to make a yard sign, and we are asking for donations for the yard sign over $5. So normally when you ask for a donation, you get more money. So we're looking at around $20 for a yard sign. So that's going to be a good thing for us. And then getting our name and our branding and FIRST out there in our community, that also puts it on the next level. It has a yard sign with our name, with FIRST, and our website. It's going to get our name out there. So that's what we want to continue doing.
And I know a lot of groups in our area do end up doing what I had alluded to a little bit before, which is working to create things within their shop and then having those things sold. There are, I know, one thing we did back when my oldest daughter actually was a freshman, she had catted a whole bunch of Christmas ornaments that were sold actually in mini shops downtown. And that was something that was brought back up again as being able to do that and having like a picture of what the, the shop looks like and how we did that is another way to be able to do that and raise money too.
So there's a good question in the chat from Charles. How much money should he expect to raise as a rookie team?
As much as you can. More and then more. Because
like,
that's
whatever you think, then double it.
Yeah, that's what I would say. Whatever you think and double it. It depends on the size of your team, because your travel cost is the most expensive thing you have. Travel costs, I got the budget right here. I got travel cost and then the cost of our robot. Those are the most expensive things we have. And someone said in the chat about partner with your local restaurants. Oh yeah, get them to help you pay with the food, because you got to feed these kids. And you got to feed your mentors. So yeah, get those. Another thing is, look at your parents, look at your grandparents. What company do they work for? Will that company match? If they volunteer, will the company match? I know First Florida Power and Light, which is our company here, if we have a volunteer from them, they will match however many hours with the cost, so of how much they get paid. So if they're working with us 50 or 100 hours, that's times whatever they get paid normally. So that's a lot of money. So please try to connect with your parents. Give them a questionnaire. Hey, where do you work? Do you think they'd be willing to sponsor us? That's kind of thing. And then train your students on how to go and do these calls of, hey, we're a robotics team. We really think you'd be interested in supporting us. This is what we do. Here's our cute little video. So, yeah.
Yeah, and grants, just keep pouting grants. Look for every single possible grant you can find. Apply for everything. Get your kids experts in finding grants and applying for grants and knowing what to do to apply for grants. You never know. There's contests all the time. Like SolidWorks has an annual CAD contest that we won $10,000 for a CAD design. That was very, very welcome, very surprising, but it's like, just check out everything and enter everything. Have your kids relentlessly look for that stuff.
There was an OnShape contest in April that gave FRC and FTC registration money as well. We didn't win, but those who did do well did get first program money out of that. So it wasn't just SolidWorks, there was also an OnShape. So I would certainly keep an eye for contests like that. And I mean, even though we were rookies last year, we had the kids actually write answers to grant questions. So what we did is we took it and we cut and paste them into a Google Drive and then let the kids answer whatever history question, like the NASA grant lets you talk about what you want to do and where you've come from. Well, we let all the kids kind of input their answers and kind of merged. So I think it's good for them to see where the money's come from and have a vested interest in it. If it's just magical money, I think it makes life worse. I think the kids need to have a sense of pride in, oh, a lot of work goes into this. And even if at the end of the day, it's the coach hitting submit on some adult grant, it's for them and they had a share in the story, and they need to understand that it's their story that's going to win them a grant or not win them a grant. Right. Also, make sure they understand obligations to grants. For example, the NASA grant has when you come in, if you get the grant, there's an incoming student question and answer, and there's an outgoing one. They got rid of the outgoing one just as I told my kids to fill it in. The link died and it said, sorry, we're taking it off, probably because of COVID. But whatever the obligation is for the grant from the kids' side or the adult side, make sure the kids do it, because it's easy money. You've already won it. Don't lose it, right?
Right. And the way is to keep that sponsorship, keep those going, is to thank your sponsors, to thank the people that gave you the grant. You know, it takes nothing for you to take a picture of your team and make that into a card on Canva, and make that into a card and have a thank you. And even if you don't have all your kids together, hello, you can still fake their name. You just get a different color pen and they fake their name. It's okay. Write with your left hand. It's not a big deal. But the whole point is you have to thank your sponsors, because guess what? If you don't thank them, they won't be there next year. And the other thing is, I love what Jean said in there, was your small business bureau. We learned that from FRC Team 27 Rush, who won Chairman's a couple of years ago. They actually print up all of their sponsors on pieces of paper or note cards, and all the small business bureaus, and then they pass them out like, you know, a game. And then the kids kind of bid, oh, I want that one, so I'll bid that one. And then they contact those 10 or 20 companies and make it, you know, if you can't do it in person like you should, you know, contact them with a phone call, send them an email with your cute little team picture. Guys, I mean, this is what this is all about. This team has to be sustainable. You've got to get the money. And someone put in there, I think it was Asha, she put in there how much it costs to do that, to have a robot. Double it, really, really double it or triple it.
She's actually right, but we're talking about the under budgeted 80-27, and
right.
That was you asked for minimum. That was our minimum. And I will be honest, we ended the season with $0. Probably negative. I just didn't reimburse the last few stuff. I was like, forget it. That's the truth. And if that, you know, like I paid for Worlds out of a credit card, because we had to fundraise all over again for that. Luckily I got it back. And if we didn't get our event money back for the canceled event, we'd be starting with negative money. It really, really does take a lot of money. Every week the kids would build something, and then on Saturday, Sunday would be, what do they need? And then somehow we found ourselves spending another $500 that weekend ordering online. We have to order from 3 different stores. We have to pay shipping. We have to pay the handling. It wasn't just the object was expensive, and everything is expensive. One motor, boom, it's $100. It is, we thought Lego was expensive. I will openly admit that FRC is expensive. Blink of an eye, you're spending several $100s. So bare minimum for me would be $5,000 on the robot. But you know, the kids messed up. When they mess up a piece of metal, I can't recoup that. When they cut the thing wrong, you can't glue back the wood. When they break the churro, you have to buy a new one.
And there's a lot of teams out there like us. We build 2 robots.
Yeah, well, that did not happen for us.
I'm just telling you, you know, these engineers are crazy. But, you know, that was before we had this, you know, had to bag it up and tag it. Now we don't have to. But also remember, if you're using that same robot, you're going to be running those motors down. You're going to be running those wheels down and those pulleys. You're going to have extra pieces. So that is going to be a real effect for these kids to learn. You know, we've got to have extra parts. So order extra if you can.
And going back to sort of the small business thing, and I would also throw some, you know, sort of sweat equity in there. For these kids can, you know, pre-COVID could go pound the pavement, go door to door to local businesses and, you know, just bug them. Now maybe it's a phone call, but that's what we did for, you know, first 3 or 4 months of our season was just local businesses just constantly knocking on doors, going to visit, talking about what we're doing. And number one, it promotes their PR skills and their ability to present to adults. But also what we found out was a lot of times there's what we call now go away money, which is sort of, you might not get the big check of, you know, $1,000, $5,000, whatever, but a lot of companies will give you $200, $250 to, you know, sort of go away. And, you know, it doesn't sound like much, but if you get 4 or 5, 6 of those companies to do that, you're now getting fairly decent money. So just, you know, just keep, you know, relentlessly pounding away and making the effort. That's really what it's going to take.
And those 4 or 5 different $200, those are now spreading what your brand is. And now you can get some more people in to come and help you. So spreading it out it's fine. And that's awesome. That's exactly the way to go.
As it relates to just another comment on, funding and helping out with with getting the schedule for funding in order. What's helped me a lot over the years is training a few students, usually on the social media and marketing team, to assist me with grant writing and also discovering grants. I think putting students in charge of some of these activities is very important, teaching them some of the basics, going through templates, that sort of thing. It takes away a lot of the stress because, as myself being a teacher and a coach, it's a lot of responsibilities in many different directions, and sometimes after school I'll be in the shop, but I'm also doing other teacher duties. And having students that you've trained personally that can work through some of the things that maybe deadlines or maybe write-ups or drafts that need to be done, all those little things help. And so a big part of the experience that I found, especially through the first couple of years, that I could still consider the rookie years of doing FIRST, not just that first year, but making sure that students are well trained, that mentors, the ones that are able to be consistent, that they are aware of where the needs are, and that the workload of the team is delegated very consistently before every practice starts, as opposed to just starting the day and figuring out what to do. And so yeah, that's just some of my comments on that.
All right. Any final, I think this is the last question that was submitted, but is there anything on anyone's mind that they feel needs to be discussed? Anyone in the audience is welcome to unmute and suggest a question as well. Nothing, we covered everything. Wow, so we're all gonna go out and have awesome FRC teams. It's perfect. But yeah, no thoughts? I know for FRC, it's more relaxing because we technically don't really start till January. So this is off season. So I guess we're not as stressed, huh? The FLL people are all bubbling with questions. And
I have one question. This is Shipra.
Yeah, hi, Shipra.
Hi. So my team actually works in the school lab, and last year, that was their rookie season. They had a mentor from like an industry mentor who was the main kind of the coach mentor, and then they had a faculty sponsor who this year does not want to invest so much time because it takes away from his personal family time too. With the mentor not being able to come, like last year, I spoke to the students last year as to what worked, what did not, and they said that if the mentor was not available and the teacher was not there, the team did not do anything, or their time was lost. So how do we manage that when the mentor will not be there? And he was the only mentor coach for the team. So how do we work with that?
There's a couple of things you're going to have to do. You're going to have to somehow sell it. If you're going to stay in the school, speaking as a teacher, if you're going to stay in the school, you're going to have to find, you're going to have to sell it to some other teacher. He probably got a stipend. So there is on your human resource page of your class, of your school, of your county, that they have that listed as an option for a stipend. It's right there with like your sports coaches and stuff like that. See if they will put that on there so you can get more people involved and interested. If not, you might have to, get a deal that you have to not be in the school. You might have to move somewhere else. I mean, that happens a lot. But we're in the same boat. We have to have a teacher in order to open up the room. It's not easy to keep the teachers because, they come in there for they don't really want to be involved, and they just come in there because they have to. So we end up, trying to really get them excited about what we're doing. And that kind of works most of the time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, even outside of school, like where we used to meet, Shipra, the kids were not allowed to go in without an adult with them, and the adult being the 3 adults officially listed as a mentor to the team. So we actually told the kids if they beat us, they had to sit and wait downstairs. So sometimes it's a legal issue. It's not even just school teacher who's not interested. That's the rules. So our students would not even be allowed to work on a day that one of the 3 adult mentors couldn't come up and supervise. And that was just the deal we made with the place. I think it's tough if the person is not interested, but maybe your son or some of the students could start thinking about other teachers that they've had through their high school career who might potentially be willing to step in, even if not as an official mentor, but would be willing to come on the days when the other mentor can't, or, you know, come the second half when this mentor can't, and get them excited about what the kids are doing. You'd be surprised. There are some amazing teachers who are willing to do it even without a stipend, or this is some personal interest for them. I guess you have to sell it, which is
Okay.
hard, but
We are talking about kind of sending a teacher survey through the school, because the school authorities have to do that. So that's something we are looking into.
I think one-on-one, if one of the kids who's enthusiastic on the team could
Okay.
approach one of their teachers, you might have a little bit better luck. It's just a feeling.
Okay.
Like
Sure.
a personal connection helps more than
Right.
just the, you know, principal sending out, which teacher wants to stay after school from 4 to 8 o'clock, 4 days a
That's a
week.
good point. That's a
Versus
good point.
your son goes and says, "Hey, Mr. Blah, I really enjoyed being in your class with you last semester. By the way, I'm doing this thing called FRC. Would you want to come stop by and see it?" Right?
Okay. Yeah, that makes
It may
sense.
not be your son, because I happen to know that he's only an incoming freshman, but maybe one of the older kids.
Right, right. No, I definitely think that's a good idea. I'll do that. And we have our weekly game night tonight at 8 if anybody is interested to join us. I can share the link.
There's an invitation out in the open to join a Texas FRC team's game night, guys. All right. Well, if everybody is content, we will call it an evening. And thank you, everybody, for participating, both listening in and the panelists. I found it personally helpful and comforting that we're not alone, and everyone is optimistic that we will have some format of FRC with adjustments. Okay, well, Sanjay, you can stop recording now.